Welcome to another edition of Inside PressBox presented by Maryland Mutual Mortgage. I'm your host, Stan the Fan Charles, and baseball season is just days away and the excitement for the Orioles is in the air. But is it as strong as it was when spring training started? We'll talk with our PressBox beat writer, Matt Palmer, and get his take on the situation. The football season is on hold for now, and it's got me thinking about the place of the fan in the sports hierarchy. I'll have a commentary on that later in the program. But first, with me in the studio now is a man who knows all the ins and outs of high school sports. That's the founder and CEO of VarsitySportsNetwork.com. And VarsitySportsNetwork.com, Gary, is fast approaching their one-year anniversary or birthday. Gary Adornato.
Thanks, Dan. Well, we're completing our first full year of high school coverage. We launched in August, and we're into our first season, the spring season, baseball, lacrosse, track, all the good spring sports. And so we're making that whole loop around the circuit for the first time.
If you had to put a number on it, would you say that what sports bring you the most traffic, first of all?
Well, you know, football is king, especially in the fall, but football only is played one day a week. So during the week, of course, we're doing rankings and features like that. So there is a lot of traffic, but the coverage is only one day a week. And then we get into the basketball season, the wrestling season. Those competitions are taking 3-4 times a week. Teams are playing that many games in a week or tournaments. So the volume builds a little higher there, but the overall biggest traffic time is the spring. Baseball, softball, and lacrosse is king in this area. We just get a ton of traffic on lacrosse.
Now, how about, are the men, do they far outweigh viewership? In other words, people tracking men's sports to women's, or do you see a nice percentage breakdown?
At times it is, but you know, we cover the women just as equally. You'll find just as many women's stories on there, and they are well read. I think, you know, there's a common amount of interest in the schools and in the families, but you know, some of your bigger schools and your bigger sports, there's more interest outside of those school communities. So that's where the men maybe get a little bit more traffic than the women, but it's still pretty equal. The
other thing we talked about before we got on the air is the viewership of you get like 500,000 page views a month now?
Yes, and we've been growing steadily since we began, and we're really hopeful during the spring season we may top out 750 to 1 million page views a month. And our goal eventually is to be at 2 or 3 million a month. That is what we've done in the past in previous websites, and this is just getting introduced to a whole new group of people for the very first time. So we're excited, and we'll just keep growing every month that we're in business.
So who makes up, if you chop the pie around, I mean, is it 50% of viewers are the kids themselves, and then there's relatives and coaches?
Very much so. You know, the kids in the schools they're coming on to see themselves. They're being interviewed. Their friends are seeing it, and then of course, if they're watching it, so are their parents and their grandparents and aunts and uncles. And the thing I like to tell people is, you know, whereas PressBox will go out and cover the Orioles and the Ravens in the hope of attracting sports fans like you and I,
sure,
we're actually covering the people that we're attracting to our sites. That's kind of a unique
different
dynamic. Yeah. Yes.
I mean, Buck Showalter isn't going to visit PressBoxOnline.com every day.
Right.
But a high school student might, or his parents might.
Exactly.
I get that. That's pretty interesting. Tell us what the website consists of. I know you have terrific written content. You do a lot of video. Do you get any of the feedback from the coaches? Do they write it all for you, or kids blog for you?
We have a small staff. It's a great staff. You know the guys, Derek Toney, Joe DeBlasi, a young man named Brandon Hopp, C.J. Malinowski. They're out there all the time. They may cover 2 or 3 stories a day sometimes, and you know, in a pinch, even they'll throw the old veteran like me out there to a game. But you know, we could never be everywhere. If you think about in each sports season, there's usually 5 or 6 sports. Every school participating. There's 130 schools in our coverage area, so there's no way we're at every game. But through time and education, the coaches know that, hey, if Varsity Sports Network is not here today, if we send them the box score, if we send them a little recap, some quotes or a photograph, we're still going to get that story up on the website, and their kids are still going to get that exposure. So if there are any coaches out there that aren't aware that that opportunity is there, it is. And just send us your information, and we'll put it up on the website.
Now, no knock against the Sun. I understand the economics of things, but as the Sun's high school sports coverage began to wane, is that what opened the opportunity more for you, or you were always going to be able to offer things that the Sun couldn't in terms of scheduling and things of that nature?
I mean, I began my career as a high school sports writer at the Sun, and the guys down there and gals, they do a great job.
They really
do. They're all pros. We're sort of like colleagues that we spend time together at the games, and I won't knock anything they do, but the internet is open 24/7.
Yep.
We have the opportunity with no limitations on space. So, sometimes they have to make tough decisions on what games they're going to cover. We don't. We're only limited by the manpower and the amount of hours we want to work. So that is one big difference that we have, an advantage. So, and I think that's in a lot of different mediums. It's not just in sports, but the internet has opened up the opportunity for more extensive and volume of coverage in all areas.
Now, I know, like PressBox, though, you've got a small staff like we do, okay? Do you have much need for young, aspiring writers in terms of interns?
All the
things
time,
like that?
all the time. We often have young kids at schools that are on the school newspaper, want to learn the business, and over the years I've worked with a lot of those kids. There's a couple of really good ones right now that are doing some work for us, and if there are students out there that have that interest,
how can they get in touch with you?
My email address is probably the best way, Gary@VarsitySportsNetwork.com. Just use that email just to hit me up for anything.
All right, that's great. Thank you very much for
you.
coming in. And same thing for advertisers. Gary@VarsitySportsNetwork.com.
Love to hear from the advertisers.
I know you do. We're in the same business there. In fact, we do some stuff together. Appreciate your coming in, Gary. You didn't get your brackets done in time to join your office pool? You can still get in on the action at CSNBaltimore.com. Make your picks anytime during the tournament. You could win big. Check out the 2011 Bracket Challenge at CSNBaltimore.com today.